everyone, Gardner here from Municipal World. I'm at the CAMA 2018 conference in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and joining me is Brady Wilson from Juice. Welcome, Brady.
Thank you. It's a privilege.
Brady did a presentation here at CAMA, and Brady and his team at Juice have also done some research in collaboration with Municipal World. Do you want to, there's a connection, so you want to tell people about the research we've done?
Sure. So we did what juices you kind of a piece of research in terms of the juice check. And we found out some interesting things inside the municipal world. And that was that employees, right up to CAO, etc., we're in pretty good shape in terms of energy, and what we found out was those most at risk in terms of their energy level were supervisors. Not so counterintuitive because they're kind of caught in the middle, but when we look at the 5 driving needs that people have and what it is that energizes them, one of them is I fit, another I'm clear, I'm supported, I'm valued, and I'm inspired. And what we found out was that those in the middle, managers and supervisors, did not have the clarity that they needed, did not have the support, and largely didn't feel that valued either. And so really hard to sustain ongoing energy for employees and senior leaders if those who are in the middle are in that spot where their energy level is not where it needs to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of times these are people who are motivated and engaged and committed to the objectives of the organization, but just on an energy level,
Very much so.
they're depleted.
And your comment there is really at the nub of what we're doing, Susan, because we found out that there are a lot of people who, they've been with the municipality for a long time, so highly tenured and very engaged, but exhausted, dedicated, but depleted. So our work has really gotten to what is the impact if you have a leader, manager, employee who is engaged but exhausted. And the thing that we found is that the first thing that we lose access to is the executive function. This is basically, it represents the power tools of innovation, customer service, of value creation, etc. Because we're talking about the ability to stay focused in the midst of distractions, the ability to manage your emotions in very tense and high-stakes situations, the ability to connect the dots in surprising and valuable ways, to understand the downstream implications of a decision or behavior or strategy. So, let's face it, that is really what moves us from reactivity and firefighting and duct tape fixes to something that's more strategic. So energy has become really vital. And we're actually sharing what I shared today with the CAOs was that your strategies are at risk if you are managing engagement but not energy.
It can have real implications for the decisions that are made inside your organization and that ultimately get rolled out into your community and inside the organization as well, right?
So true. The great assumption is that when we go on an offsite and we create these strategies and we get really clear on the next steps, that's exactly what will happen. And so these folks today, all these CAOs, well-intentioned, smart, they're not going to fail because they don't have smart people in the organization. They're not going to fail because they don't have good strategies. They're not going to fail because they have really bad decision-making. Where we fail is execution, follow-through, implementation. So we buy a technological implementation and we get a fraction of the value of it, and it's not because it inherently lacks any horsepower. It's the human execution that is missing, and so that's why energy is so important. No energy, no execution.
No execution.
Yeah.
So for folks working in municipalities, whether they're working in a senior capacity or in a support function or on council, if you're working in a municipal organization, what kind of strategies can you deploy to manage your energy better and get some of that juice back that you need to do the job well?
Beautiful question. It really comes down to what we consider to be the operating system of an organization, which is conversation, the ability to connect on what matters most, and then understand what's possible in this situation, which is highly nuanced, highly differentiated from employee to employee, and then to partner for progress. So there's no global duct tape fix for engagement or for energy. It really happens conversation by conversation. So a quick story I'll share with you is that of Ziad, who inherited a checked out absenteeism artist and had to address this and went into it assuming that he understood what mattered most to this employee. I'm going to correct this thing. And every time they had the conversation, it just devolved into something frustrating and fulfilling. He finally took part in one of our sessions around getting to what matters most. And he didn't have to be a therapist or a coach, or he just had to do what great managers do, which is ask. So in this situation, I see absenteeism happening, and I don't want to assume anything about that. I want to find out what matters most to you in our current situation. And this particular employee opened up and shared it wasn't that she felt like she was checked out. It was she felt like she didn't have enough challenge. Now, a manager who sees an employee who's checking out on Monday mornings or whatnot and not coming to work can easily assume that they don't want any more challenges, that they have too many challenges. And when he started giving her challenge after challenge, every time he did, she hit it out of the park. To such an extent that 6 months later, her fellow employees or colleagues nominated her for the Bravo Award, high performers. And then later, she was elevated to a management position. She now has an engagement score. She manages a bunch of business analysts that is unheard of, 100% engagement. Now, here is someone who could have been ejected from the organization. A conversation happens where the manager connects on what matters most, understands what's possible in terms of giving her challenge, and partners with her for progress to help her make that shift, and she becomes a superstar. I think a lot of managers can do this. I think a lot of leaders can do this, but we cannot rely on a universal strategy to fix all of our energy and engagement.
Okay. So the reality is, if we don't have those conversations, when we see, issues happening, we can make a lot of assumptions, like you said, that, the person is overwhelmed or out of their depth, or and in reality, the issue, what matters most, could be something completely different that we have power to help them get past.
Yes. Our big shift with leaders is helping them shift from parenting to partnering. Parenting, as you just said, I know best. I make assumptions and I do the fix for you.
Yeah.
Partnering, where we co-author a solution that we both feel will work. It has to work not only for the employee, but it has to work for the manager and for the team and for our constituents as well. And so that shift towards partnering, it frees up the manager. They don't have to be the cheerleader. They don't have to be the hand holder. They don't have to be the referee. They don't have to be the social convener. They can now run the business with a decision horizon that's 12, 18, 24 months, as opposed to reactivity and firefighting and duct tape fixes. And I'm always having, no, right? Let's figure out how to partner to manage energy together.
That's fantastic. So if you're in an organization that where you find yourself firefighting and reacting all the time, this could potentially be a strategy that you could apply in your organization to improve results and outcomes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
My joy.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you can find more of Brady's work and his information at www.juiceinc.com. and more stories from Municipal World on municipalworld.com. We share your stories. Thanks for joining us.